Hey you guys, and welcome to the third game devlog. The first one we talked about enemy AI, got it set up with a finite state machine. In the second one we made enemies able to attack, which, where did this guy go? You can see him come punch me, but if we run away we'll lose him here. What I said I wanted to do next was have blocks that you could break in place. You'll see there are now blocks that you can break, and I have no idea where that went. It must have fallen behind one of these other ones. Yeah, there it is. So it breaks it, and it has a little drop. I need to work on the drops, obviously. I mean, they just appear and they can hide behind things, and that shouldn't be happening. But we can pick them up. You can see there's a little inventory going up here. That's like the exact same code that I used for the inventory tutorials I made. If you guys want to check those out, I can link them. But yeah, so we can break things. Can't quite place them, but that's going to be probably what I'll work on the rest of this episode. I'll walk you guys through this code. You'll see there's this circle around me that's just kind of for debugging. So like if I zoom out, I can't break something way over here. I have to be near the thing to break it. That's, to convince the player to actually move around and put themselves in dangerous situations. And yeah, it shouldn't be too easy, But yeah, so I'll walk you guys through this code and then probably work on placing things that we've broken and picked up. So let's jump into a little code here. I guess the first thing is I added these two objects, object collectible and object breakable. So collectible is just what it sounds like. That's something you can pick up. That's what those little tiny walls were laying on the ground. So I was thinking about having this be a parent class, and then everything would have a smaller version of itself that would have object collectible as its parent. But I've realized I don't actually need to do that. I can just set a couple things in this and create an instance of the collectible itself. So if I say, I set the item to be, let's see, in the wall here, if I destroy it, so this is actually happening in the breakable code, which I'll show you in a second. I'm going to create a collectible, and I'm going to set the sprite index of that to be my sprite index, which gets scaled down in the collectible. Then I'm going to say the count, which is just one. There's one wall there. And then the item is its object index, so I don't even need to use parents and all that junk. I can just make a collectible. The other thing this does is it's got the draw, and right now I've got it drawing a little shadow. You might have noticed that little dark bit underneath it. It's just the sprite moved down a little bit and blended with black. And then it draws itself, and that's pretty much it. And it's all at a quarter scale, so it appears smaller. I guess the next thing to jump into here is the breakable. So this will be used as a parent. Anything that's breakable should have object breakable as its parent. So the wall is the only thing there right now. But yeah, it basically sets a few variables that we use to figure out how long it takes to break and, what you should be animating and stuff. So that's like, seconds to break, how long it takes, the current, is it breaking, are you hovered over it? That was when it turned yellow, just to indicate that, yeah, that's breakable right now. Are you within the breaking distance? If you're not, so if you're outside that circle, you're not going to be able to be broken. When it destroys, it drops the collectible. We just talked about that. The begin step here, this is just to put a little highlighting over it as you hover over it if you're within range. And then down here, this is kind of the little loop where it figures out if you're actually breaking it. So if your mouse button is clicked on it and you're within range, you're going to kind of increment up until you hit that break seconds, and then it'll break. And then lastly here, there's just a little bit of draw code. Turns it yellow if you're hovering. Draw your sprite, and then it adds cracks as you're breaking it, which up here I just made a few little sprites that look like cracks, and those appear and kind of animate over the thing as you're breaking it. I'll probably have to customize those for different objects, but for now that's good just to kind of give you the visual indication, like, oh, you're breaking it. Another interesting thing, I had to change the collision mask for the collectibles because they're smaller. And I didn't find a great way to do this programmatically, but it turns out if you just make a small sprite and then you, in your object, choose a mask, you can pick a mask from a different sprite. So I just set it, the small one here on the collectible, and that's so that you're not colliding into it from too far away. And then just to briefly touch on the inventory stuff, this is all pretty much the same code that we have from the inventory tutorial I did. I just broke it out into scripts here. So everything's kind of encapsulated. Yeah, if you want to see how that works, I would check out that video. I could walk through how to put it into scripts because it's kind of nice to have it abstracted away, but you know, just comment if you guys are interested in that kind of thing. Here's where it's drawing to the screen. Again, that's the same from the inventory drawing video I did. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna try to figure out how to get objects to be placed after you've picked them up. So I'm gonna work on that, and then I'll give you guys a little demo. All right, so check this out. If I pick this up, you'll see I've got like a little white square here that kind of says, all right, this is where you're able to place things. It's not outside the ring, it's not on top of my player, but I should be able to, you know, just throw things down. There you go, with the right mouse button. Apparently I forgot to empty my inventory. Oh, trapped my enemy. So I have unlimited blocks right now and I can just keep placing things, but that should be subtracting. And then the idea is you can just place whatever you've picked up, just like, you know, something like Minecraft or really any crafter out there, or any game that has inventory ever. You can use what you've got. Yeah, so I'm gonna clean that little bit up, but I'll show you guys the code real quick, and that'll probably be about it for today. If we start in the player here, the first thing I did is I changed this macro. It used to be called breaking distance to interacting distance because it's breaking and placing. In the begin step, this is where I put the actual interesting code that allows us to place things. Right now it's hard coded to place object wall, but that's going to be configurable down the road as I add things. So it starts by just getting the distance between my center and where the mouse currently is, and if that's less than the interacting distance and we have enough of those items in our inventory, it's going to go ahead and place the item, but it's going to snap it to the grid so that you're not kind of placing things willy-nilly. This allows you to line things up pretty nicely. I mean, Minecraft's, you know, on a grid. Something like Fallout 4, when you're building your shelters, things snap together once you've got them in place, but they don't snap on the ground, which means it's really hard to kind of line things up. It gives you more freedom, but I find it to be a lot more annoying, actually. So I prefer having the grid in place. But yeah, so that's what the begin step is doing. The little square, this is kind of repeated code, so I'm going to clean that up, but this is putting the white square on the ground so you can see where you're able to place things. And that's really all I had to do to place items. I might have added something in the inventory. Oh, just a has item check. Basically looks in the map and it says, okay, do you have, you know, at least one of these items? If you do, cool, like just return true, and that lets me know that I'm able to place something. And the other script is this get the grid point, so this just kind of like snaps the thing to a grid. So you start by dividing and dropping the remainder. That's what div does, and then you just multiply that by your grid size, and that'll give you your x, and you do the same thing in y, and that'll give you your y. But yeah, so that's about all there is to it. We're now placing things. I guess next time I would like to add some more things that could be placed. I'd love to do windows at some point. Like, you know, the object, the enemy fades out of view when it goes behind a wall, but that's what's going to make windows useful, is it'll be a wall, but you'll be able to see through it and still see the enemy. I think that'll be pretty cool, but I'll do that at some point. Yeah, so if you guys have questions, throw some comments down there. I'd love to tell you more about how I did it. I could make tutorials, just let me know. And thank you. I will see you in the next one.